that's the starting point. So we're really excited to have a bike, and I raced it last year and was like blown away at what a modern downhill bike would do in comparison to what we used to ride.
So what went into the fundamental design of the bike? And I guess I'm talking more about like the geometry and the kinematic side rather than the aesthetics of the thing, although it does look absolutely stunning, of course. But take us through, like, before the team became the team, where did you start with Vlad, I think it was, who did a lot of the design work?
Yeah, I mean, it's really Vlad's baby, to be honest with you. I had very little input on it. He knows we're under tight budgets. We don't have a huge amount of money to throw at a project like this, and he managed to take, I would say, 2/3 of an Arrival and build what we're looking at today at the World Cup. So essentially, it's a stock Arrival XL front end that's sectioned off and a stock Arrival XL rear end. We bond in a midsection that links up to a very similar kind of virtual link or floating rear end links. Created this kind of a unique platform for us to give it near infinite adjustability from all aspects of the kinematic values that you want to plug into it. And we did the best we could, I guess, to get the geometry close. And we're moving from that now. Like, that's the starting point. So we're really excited to have a bike, and I raced it last year and was like blown away at what a modern downhill bike would do in comparison to what we used to ride, and figured it would be worth a try. And Mark and John threw a leg over it and were really impressed. So I was surprised, I guess. I mean, Vlad wouldn't be surprised. He was obviously designing it with all intents and purposes to be the fastest bike out there, but I was surprised how well it was received and how little effort we had to put into the project to move it to where it is today.
Yeah. Was it an obvious choice then to try and keep the project kind of all Canadian? Like, you've got this story of local manufacture and everything going on, so I guess it is a very like Canadian centric theme within the business. But was that something you wanted to do with the team as well?
Yeah, it was, Canada, I would say, is a fairly underrepresented and I guess under-invested in group of riders, like as far as the athletes go. We have an alarming amount of talent here in Canada, and a cycling body that doesn't really invest heavily into the gravity side of the sport. There's a lot of large players, I guess, that call Canada their home base, and in brands like Norco and Da Vinci, Rocky Mountain. I would say Kona is kind of like a Canadian brand. There's a lot of other kind of brands in the area. And I feel like we should be fostering those talents and investing in those talents to get them to the world stage and showcase them more, like that we have more to offer than the likes of what we're seeing today. And I think the more that companies get behind that and push the prerogative, then we'll start to see Canadians kind of take over the world stage and do really well. But it's going to take investment from private companies like us, I think, to make that happen.
Yeah, there's never really been a big squad of kind of Canadian downhillers on the scene when I think back, Like, we've seen it with the Brits, the Aussies, the French, like a lot of nationalities, the Americans have done it. But yeah, you're right. There's been some amazing Canadian riders, but there's never been like a big contingent of you like doing it all together, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we have always had some fantastic names that climbed to the top and have dominated or done well. And the likes of Stevie Smith, obviously, you got Finn and Bodie looks like he's coming up, the Jewett brothers. There's some very, very fast Canadians they're on the ground, clamoring towards the top of the sport, which is amazing. And I think, even Gracie, you got some top female athletes, and there's even more female athletes coming down the pipe. And looking at the feeder of what's being done in Canada with the local Dunbar series here in BC and BC Cups, Canada Cups, these are all events that are burgeoning at the U15, U17 categories. I mean, we're talking 70 to 100 U17, U15 riders at an event, which makes up almost 1/3 of the total entrants. So there's a lot of future talent coming out of Canada. And it all came to light to me. I went back and visited some events in 2021, and it was just a mind blower to me. I didn't know racing was alive and well. We focused a lot on an enduro at the time and kind of forgot about downhill. But as the momentum built, it was it was really cool to see these kids that were excited to race and frothing to get to the top of the sport. So I think the future is bright for Canada if it gets the right investment.
Yeah, and two good riders on the squad in Jon Mozell and Mark Wallace. Like, when did you find out that those guys might be available and that you might be able to get them swinging a leg over your bike?
Mark, I guess the people from Stereo Racing, they were like Holly and Darren, they were very interested in creating and forming a team. Unfortunately, they were kind of a part of this Norco fiasco that I don't know what happened there. I don't know the details, but a bunch of changes were made, and they were without work, and Mark was a part of that. And we were, it kind of made obvious that Mark was one of the top Canadian athletes that was available at the time, and if we were going to try to take this bike to the top, it only makes sense that he was our man. And then, John was a super talented individual that Holly and Darren brought to the table and said we should ride with him, have him ride the bike. And he's a great kid. He's super energetic. He has a massive fire, and he really wants to do well. And I think that Mark fostering some of his experience and sharing that with John and developing him, it could be a great team. So I think all in all, for what we had to work with, the timeline that we had to put it together and whatnot, we couldn't ask for a better team. I mean, ultimately, I'd love to have 15, 20 young Canadians out there send themselves down the hill and trying to learn and grow and foster. But unfortunately, we have to pick a couple, and we're really, really happy with the outcome.